From the heartbeat of the Republic, this is the PAWA podcast. Be powerful. Bringing you independent voices, expert opinion, driving change.
What's up, Power people? This is the Power Pod, and this is the Mjue Kiongozi Wako series. So, on our episode today, we are hosting a brilliant young man, Wakili, from Zimmerman, and we'll be talking about leadership issues as a young person and also as an aspiring young person. What they're looking at bringing at the table. So, I will be your host for today, Marion Guy, and welcome so much, Karani.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are happy to have you. And it's good that hata wewe ni wakili. Sasa ukienda huko ndani, please, leta hiyo wakili tuone.
It's funny I get called by those three names. Mm-hmm. So my name is Robin Muremi Karani.
Uh-huh.
But the young people know me as Ro. Mm-hmm. And the people I meet in my profession know me as Wakili. Mm-hmm. And then the older generation calls me Karani. Mm-hmm. So in my vying, I am three persons in one.
So very, very interesting. So yes. Welcome again.
Thank you very much.
So maybe you can introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and which position you're vying for and where.
Okay, I'll start by saying my name is Robin Muremi Karani. Ukipenda unaweza niita Ro, ukipenda unaweza niita Wakili. Kipendo unaweza niita Zima Uno. That's what I have on my head.
Mm-hmm. What does it mean though?
People call themselves the first person in the place. Mm-hmm. So when Zima 1 came around, mm-hmm. most people saw me as the vibrant one, the young person. Mm-hmm. The church calls me David.
Wow.
The youngest of all the aspirants. Mm-hmm. So I always have to come with connotations that look more different from everyone. So when anyone is calling themselves Zima Man 1, mm-hmm. I am Zima Uno, and no one can take that from me. And I will always remain to be that. I'm vying for MCA Zimmerman. Mm-hmm. That's Member of County Assembly for Zimmerman Ward. It is in Nairobi City County. Mm-hmm. It's one of the 85 wards in Nairobi City mm-hmm. County. Mm-hmm. I'm vying as an independent candidate, mm-hmm. and I am the only candidate in Zimmerman with a rallying call, and my rallying call is "It's all about you." Mm-hmm. I say that I am the only one mm-hmm. because all the others, what they have done is they have translated "It's all about you" to Kiswahili.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Uh-huh.
Yes, I started a bit earlier. Mm-hmm. I hadn't declared that I was vying, mm-hmm. but I started my job, mm-hmm. particularly on youth and Zimmerman issues. Mm-hmm. Kitambo kidogo, mm-hmm. and I take things as challenges. Mm-hmm. So it started like a joke. Mm-hmm. So we went to Corona. Mm-hmm. I was hosted for another YouTube video mm-hmm. by AYLF. Mm-hmm. So I'm a member of the Africa Youth Leadership Forum. Mm-hmm. So for forum, mm-hmm. I'm arguing with the speaker for Nyeri then. Mm-hmm. That's John Kagusha. He's now vying, I think, in Mukurweini. Mm-hmm. So we are arguing about public participation uh-huh. and how it's the work of the speaker. Mm-hmm. And I tell him, now that we have COVID, mm-hmm. how are you overcoming mm-hmm. the issue of no social gathering, mm-hmm. yet we need to have mm-hmm. public participation.
Yeah.
So he says we are telling people to write to us memoranda. Mm-hmm. And ask, how many people do you think have the capacity to write memoranda?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you try to come up with something different? Mm-hmm. And he gave me a challenge and he said, youths like complaining. They don't give solutions. Uh-huh. So when I went back home, uh-huh. I live in Zimmerman. Mm-hmm. I was brought up in Zimmerman. I studied in Resambo Primary. It's deep in the middle of Zimmerman 1. Mm-hmm. So Zimmerman is my home base. I only know Zimmerman. Mm-hmm. So I went back there. Mm-hmm. There was public participation. Mm-hmm. So I knew niko na namba ya MCA, mm-hmm. niko na namba ya ward admin. So I called them. Mm-hmm. I called the principal, I called the chief, mm-hmm. told them now that because we can't meet, I am organizing a Zoom meeting. Mm-hmm. I want all of you to be my panelists mm-hmm. so that we can have inputs mm-hmm. from everyone else. I'll tell them the MCA is attending, the ward admin is attending, and then they will attend to the Zoom.
Yeah.
So we did more public participations as Zoom. Mm-hmm. For the whole ADP year 2019, the budget year 2019, 2020, 2021. Mm-hmm. During that budget, mm-hmm. ndio NMS ilikam. Mm-hmm. So NMS kukuja, mm-hmm. again, me being me, mm-hmm. I took NMS to court. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Very
they-
active citizen.
So they were given 100 days to rectify how NMS was created. So in the middle of all that, ninaulizwa we kijana nani nini unataka unatusumbua hivi. So I'm like, whatever NMS is doing must be done in my ward. So see, they were creating hospitals. Which ward benefits? Zimmerman. So we were supposed to have 2 hospitals. Mimi na Kierere nimeenda kwa MCA. Now we are having public participation. We've gotten an allocation for a hospital.
Yeah.
Now all we need is to show them a public space. Tukazunguka Zima yote. Everything is grabbed. Map inaonyesha hapa kunafaa kujengwa hospitali, unaenda unapata a whole 6-story building. Then you're asking kwa nini mtu hawezi kuzwa? MCA anakwambia yeye huyo huwezi kuza. Huyo sijui ni mkubwa wa chama sijui wapi, huyo sijui ni nani, ukimguza. So I'm like, if you can't touch them, then no one will be touched and people will continue like this and we will miss out on public utilities. Tukakosana na MCA for a while. So his way of attacking me was saying I organize, because now nilikuwa nimepata hiyo jina ya kuorganizing public participation za Zoom. So she says he won't be attending them sababu nazitumia hizo to up my political career to vie for MCA. So I asked him, unadhani tu nikitia MCA nataka? Sawa, nitavai.
I'm coming for it all.
That's how I ended up where I was.
Wow. I think that's really inspiring. And I love the fact that you were challenged and you picked up the challenge.
Yes.
I know that even you are mentioning all these social issues that are social injustices arising from, Zimmerman particularly. Maybe sasa utuambie. Now, what kind of leader do you see yourself to be? So are you going to be the typical leaders we've been having, corrupt, get the seat at Zimmerman, toroka, kuja uishi Kileleshwa, watu wa Zimmerman wakuone once a So what kind of leader are you, or are you looking to be?
I always try to be with the people.
So
nikicoin the slogan of it's all about you. Sijaiambia watu wengi, but it's because of what I had seen. So hiyo story ya kutafuta shamba, we ended up tukatengenezwa hospitali moja and ilitengenezwa place mbali from the populace. So no one really.
So unfortunate.
So
even the allocation, half of it went back to the, exchequer. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So hiyo time yote, I was like, people make development. Nakumbuka hiyo watu wakibishana hatuwezi kula barabara na nini. But there seems to be a disconnect that you do development, but it's not really touching the heart of the people.
Yeah.
So I walked around, I did my research, and then I came up around a principle called people-centered development. So by name being Karani, nilikuwa nimeget a pseudonym. Yeah, people call me Clark. So Clark is the English name for Karani.
Yeah.
So I started calling myself the people's Clark. That is how I would do all my activism work. Coming here nimeambia I think nimefanya vitu mingi za watu wa 54. I know people by name but I don't know their faces. Na ni juu ya hizo activism stance. So nilikuwa najiita the people's Clark the whole time.
So even as you get into power, you plan to just progress democracy
exactly.
as it is.
I plan to be hiyo nini ya people-centered development. I want it to be it's all about you. To make it look different, wase wengi walikuwa anavai, anasema anavai and then anawatengenezea manifesto so that awaambie chenye atawafanyia. So me what I did my it's all about you. Then I went to the people.
You had a public participation.
I tried to get as many comments from people
as possible.
What would you want your MCA to do for you? And they gave me a list. Once they gave me a list, I have done a course in public policy. So I responded by creating solutions to all these problems and what role does the MCA play. I believe watu wengi sana hawana civic education. They don't know what the MCA does. So MCA akikuja akudanganye, unakubali tu juu haujui anafaa afanye nini. So I was really careful on na kufunza MCA anafanya nini.
Yeah, that's really nice and I love that you're already going ahead. But just to take you back a bit. So even as a leader, you've just mentioned a couple of issues. Land has been grabbed, the people don't have enough services because of one or two issues. Majorly corruption. So what do you plan to do in that? Chapter 6 of the Constitution, leadership and integrity. How are you going to approach that? Because are you going to just be part of the system or you're going to,
I gave I give people the option of knowing that there are only 3 jobs za MCA. That the first job is called representation. So my solution is having responsive representation. Not representation that is more of who funded me to go to enter into the politics.
Yeah.
Why I'm independent is because I don't want to be entangled with anyone or with any group, so that when I'm doing representation for you, I do not have a conflict of interest. That is one thing I noted. The second job, legislation, and it's writing legislation. How I got myself in the space of youth leadership. I started the call for creating the Nairobi City County Youth Policy.
Oh, nice. That was completed. Was it last year?
It was completed this year. We launched it on Feb 9th. And I was the one who gave the maiden speech for the youth because I was a volunteer the whole time.
That needs some drum rolls.
So, but how all that came to be is that passion for always having the right laws. We have a law that is called the Nairobi County Public Participation Act. It was done in 2015, but unfortunately it was funded from the CSO side. So imekaa tu kwa shelf. Nobody knows about it. It says that we are supposed to have town hall meetings every 100 days. We don't know about it, so we never ask for it. And the MCA will never tell you of things like that. Juu hataki ujue hajafanya kitu ama amefanya kitu fulani. So that's my second job, was to do flagship legislation and ensure that even the generations that come, hii knowledge nilipewa ya kukua wakili, I can use it to help Nairobi for the generations to come. That kutakuwa na masheria zenye zita make sure nothing goes off. In that youth policy, some people will tell you even here from PAWA 254, I lost my grandma last year. And the meetings were happening in Naivasha. At the same time, the technical working group was having a meeting with the state law office, or let's say the county attorney's office in Naivasha, to discuss what to remove before we launch, what to remove in the youth policy. And then they removed the provision that 2% of the budget must go to the youth. They removed the provision of creating a youth revolving fund. And then they removed the provision of having a youth advisory board.
Most important things.
Those 3 things. I was in Naivasha in my grandma's burial. Somebody called me from Nini. Nikatoka nikaenda nikawapata hadi kwa hiyo hoteli. So because everybody knows me, sitakatazwa kuingia. We made an argument, zilirudi by that jioni.
Nice.
And when we were fighting that, nikaona zile za how far we can go with the name of legislation. Mtu anasema sheria inasema, and because niya amesema mnakubali tu kutoa, and you don't really interrogate kujua ni nini. Because what he was saying, like for the fund, anakuja and explain, the county attorney anakuja and explain, anasema, the county regulation says that we cannot create a fund that will rely on the exchequer year in, year out. And mimi niko, that's okay. But there's a reason to make a youth fund eco revolving fund, because we don't want to be relying on the exchequer every year. Where to pay any pesa, whatever we kopeshana, ndio tunarudisha, tuna grow fund yetu. We don't rely on you every year mtupe pesa tupeane nini. And that was how we got it back to the youth policy, because now they understood. And number 2, wale walikuwa wametolewa imebaki. The third thing as the function of an MCA is called oversight. Now our problem with oversight has been that we elect ikitu inaitwa suti. So MCA wako na governor na senator wako the same party. Even if the governor anakula pesa aje, huyo MCA hataiongea, huyo senator hataiongea. So what I'm offering is independent oversight. That's why I'm an independent candidate. That kama governor anafanya makosa, don't expect me kumtetea. Nitasema anafanya makosa. Kama senator ameshindwa kuitana kwa nini, nitasema. Na nitakuja na nitaonyesha hapa haijatumiwa pesa. In my home area right now in Zimmerman, the budget, the report, quarterly report for 2017-2018 shows that 21 million was used to establish an office for the ward administrator for Zimmerman. I can tell you, nimetoka kwa hiyo office ya, the proposed office ya ward administrator 2 days ago. Hakuna gate. It's just a container imewekwa mahali imezungukiwa na wire mesh. The ward administrator does not do anything hapo. Hakujavutwa stima. He can't work from there. It ime to take us now as youths and the people I'm campaigning with, tushikane tuulizane, what can we do to help them hata kaa ni kuwapakia rangi, tuwaekee gate, tuipake as in to notify watu hizi ni ofisi za kanjo. Because we've seen venye shamba zinaenda, hata hao wakicheza watageuka hivi warudi wapate hapo palisha kuwa building na imerentishwa watu.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm really glad that Robin, you are very well equipped with even the role of an MCA. You're going there with an informed approach.
Thank you.
Not just, because you want to get into the county assembly. But then watu wazima unawapea nini? Manifesto yako sasa.
Watu wazima, I have created that solution ya 9-point agenda. But the thing I am selling most, ninaenda nikiwauliza, nani ako na idea? Jumi niko na idea. Nipe dakika moja nikuelezee idea yangu. My idea is, after looking at all the things I promise to do those 3 roles: the responsive representation, flagship legislation. I promised to do independent oversight. I promised to do public participation reforms on how I can do this Zoom I was doing, and imprint it into county legislation that people can have public participation the whole of Nairobi on Zoom. And stuff like that. But what I came up with for watu wazima ni something I'm calling ujirani. See, from it's all about you, it remains you. And you, what you want is, wewe unataka tu ukue hauna shida, kwako kuko na maji, unakula, ukitoka uende tao uko sawa, job unaingiza kakitu na vitu kaa hizo. So it's more of, what do you get from this? So I came up with something called ujirani. Ujirani is a plan of reviving the Nairobi hood in us. Because most of the time, watu wakiongelea nini wanaongelea residents association. In Zimmerman, they are residents association. But those residents association ni za landlord na land grabbers. Hao ndio wanafanya residents association. So they don't even really know shida ni wapi. So mko huku nyinyi mnasema tuko na shida ya maji. Kwetu hakuna maji. But landlord wenyu haezi enda kusema sababu amejenga ploti juu ya sewer line. So haezi connectiwa maji chumali yako, hapafai kuwa na building. So he will never tell you that mimi ndio nimekosea ndio maana hamna maji.
Yeah, definitely.
So we need to have that organization from people from the neighborhood. Mwenye anakaa hapo, huo mama wa soko hapo. We can create neighborhood association by reenacting now the Neighborhood Act. Na nimependa hadi kuna magavana wameanza kuiongelea now. Because now they have realized, sisi sio Karen, kila mtu ana own kwenye anakaa. Huku ni tenants. What COVID showed us is, the moment tulifungiwa jobs siku moja, the next day ni vita ni ya landlord na tenants kwetu. Kila siku ni agents na makufuli na vita na stima kufungwa. So my ujirani plan is more of how I can bring the people back together. We talk of our things. In Zimmerman, kukichomeka moto mahali sahi, we will barely find time to explain to fire station ni wapi kunachomeka. None of our roads is named. The only road that is named in Zimmerman ni Thika Road Super Highway, Kamiti Road na Northern Bypass. Hizo zingine zote ujiite venye unataka. Now we have the problem of land grabbing. So ndio hizo barabara hazijanemiwa. So how do you expect kuget services za ambulance kwa mtu anafiwa mahali down in a place we call Mtongwe, uko chini, utaelezea mtu wa nini aje. So but if you were to bring the people together through neighborhood associations, it is easier to do street naming kwa sababu sheria iko ya how to do street naming. All I need is watu wenye wanafanya biashara na wanaishi on this road to have a meeting, suggest names, validate, we vote on it, we decide on one name and we present that to the county. Na county inafai kuja ifanye nini? Iname hiyo barabara na iweke signboard, hii barabara inaitwa hivi. Hivyo tu. That is the first thing that we need to do. Because the problem is, tutashinda tukisema hapa tuko na mashida. But our problems will never be addressed until we can be accessed.
Yeah, that's very true. And now, Robin, thank you so much for sharing your manifesto. I love that it's people-centric. And most importantly, I love that you're a very accountable person. It seems like you're a very accountable person. And that's really good. Maybe just to ask, you're a young person.
Yes.
You're vying for this political seat. You're breaking the society norms that, young people cannot, don't provide solutions. You are told you just keep complaining. So what are some of the challenges? Not many, just you can give me like 2 because of time. What are some of the challenges that you may have experienced during this period?
Now, number 1, we have a very bad habit ya voters. Akuitisha kitu inaitwa
I can
kukonya.
smell it.
So they believe sababu we ni kiongozi na umekuja kuniongelesha. Tukikupea kiti you are supposed to change. We are not supposed to be the same. So hata ukikuja kuniongelesha usiniache vile umenipata. So by meaning usiniache vile umenipata is just a way of asking for kitu kidogo. And at the end of the day you go home asking yourself, did I really sell my message to him ama was he interested in just what I was going to give him after? Na mara mingi tumejipata tukikata. Most of the time I will tell you, if you're not buying my agenda, then there's no need. The people the money, most of my money I get to spend during this campaign ni ile yenye nakwambia I go to a place we find hapa panahitaji kufanyika kitu. So we intentionally try to do small works program.
Ushaanza kazi.
So we juzi sometime back nilitembea mahali. The women were complaining of a bridge yenye watoto wanapitia kuenda shule. The last person who worked on it was an MCA aspirant in 2007. So it is in very bad situation. So ninaenda pale ninaangalia, I call the guys wenye tumegrow now huko wote wenye najua wako tu mtaa, they are not doing much. We look at the place, we do a budget, tunakuja tunaenda tunaingia kazi, tunagonga na tunalipana jioni. But everybody goes home happy because hata yeye mwenyewe anafurahi that he's the one who did such a good thing. When those women wanatembea wakisema asanteni sana vijana wa pale juu mlikuja mkatutengenezea bridge, huyo kijana akiwa mahali yako, he's so proud of what he has done. Whatever we will do with the office of the ward admin when we finish, everybody mwenye atakuwa involved atakuwa naenda nyumbani akisema we did that, we helped this and we did this. So that's the only one ninatumia. And that one I would not be opposed to it because, well, as a leader you expect me nifanye kazi. If I can't show you my capacity, then what am I really doing? But hii maneno ya mdomo ya nanikupatie tu pesa tu ya kusema sasa ni wewe ndio tunapea. Na nikitoka nipige kona, my competitor akuje atoe pesa ingine, ni wewe sasa ndio tunapea. That one has been a big challenge. Number 2 has been the challenge of independent candidates. Nimechelewa hapa kukam because I was doing a case for independent candidates who were vying for president and how they were locked out. I'm also in another case on independent candidates on the issue of produce copies of ID because that locked out a number of independent candidates, and how independent candidates tunaenda get clearance from the registrar of political parties. Like tumekuwa independent ndio tujitenganishe na political parties, but all our processes zinarudishwa kwa registrar of political parties. Then they have a political liaison committee where they talk with political parties on the way forward. IBC and political parties negotiate, but independent candidates are not there, so we don't actually negotiate. So kuna hizo nini za kukaliwa na system and everybody believing. I tell people mtu asikudanganye. The only person who cannot claim to talk of system among our presidential candidates is Wajakoya, because there are not so many candidates around the country. But kama ni Kenya Kwanza, kama ni Azimio, even Agano Party, they have candidates all over. And they negotiate with the IEBC directly. Now, all of us, sisi wenye tumekuwa independent, we have become independent because we have seen, tumeona pale mbele, that hatuna political parties, tuko na vehicles za kutumia kuingia kwa power, and then once we are in power, hiyo chama achana nayo. You start creating new names, you start calling it new things and believing in new stuff. So for most of us, you're independent because you have your ideology, you have what you believe in, the people you look up to, and how you want things done. But una believe nikiingia kwa hii chama kesho itakuwa ina take a different stand.
Yeah, for sure.
That's our point. And imekuwa ikinisumbua.
And also we've seen that happening a lot.
So it's the person I can at least defend on that is Wajakoya, because najua yeye hayuko. We are not so many of us who support him openly around the country. and we are coming from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Na hatuna hiyo connection with the current bunge. I mean, nikizaliwa, I think the first election, I'm still young, the first election that happened nikipata meno was 97. And from 97, both William Ruto, Raila Odinga and Wahige Mwaura have always been on the ballot since 97. Either for MP, for president, for deputy president, they've always been on the ballot. I have not seen Wajakoya yet. So I think that's my change.
Okay. Whoa, that's a lot. So as we wind up, just briefly in 3 words, unaambia nini watu wazima?
Watu wazima nimekuja tu kuwaomba kura kwa unyenyekevu na kazi yenye tunaweza fanya tukiwa pamoja. Niwakumbushe my options are to advance the rule of law, to champion for people-centered development, and to advocate for service and to transform service delivery ndani ya Zima. Tunaweza achieve so much more when we work together, because you know what? It's all about you.
Thank you so much. And you forgot one thing. And they should support the young people. The young
A
people
lot.
are, coming up very confidently into leadership, and we love that, and we love to support that.
I think we are up in Nairobi, we are supporting each other across political parties we meet. I have friends from UDA, friends from ODM, from Jubilee. Tukikutana, we are the young people.
Yeah.
And we are hoping tutaona wengi ndani ya assembly, and from then Nairobi can expect a little change from this.
Okay,
Yes.
That's nice to hear. And my prayer is that even as the young people are getting into leadership, they should not forget Chapter 6 of the Constitution, and they should not get lost in the usual bad political behaviors, but now bring change to this country. So to our listeners, before we go to our listeners, to you, Robin, thank you so much for coming to our podcast.
Thank you so much.
We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for listening. Until next time, this is the Power Pod. Go and follow us on our social media platforms at Power254. Kwaheri.
Asante.
From the heartbeat of the Republic, this is the Power Podcast. Be powerful.